Hello, Facebook Live, and welcome. We are here with our student engagement series, and I am here with, of course, my amazing campaign manager, Venus Johnson, and our two guests. But first of all, let me say, yes, my name is Kellie Davis, and yes, I am running for the Oceanside City Council District 3 seat. And let me say this right now with my two guests. This is not an endorsement. This is not an endorsement. This is not an endorsement. These are fellow people in government. They're involved with their student government on their college campuses. And we are just going to have a wonderful conversation about campus life, politics, as well as politics off campus. So I have both Emanuel Prince and Ian Clark here, part of their student government. And well, welcome, gentlemen. Thank you for coming.
Hi, thank you for having us.
Good, good.
Thank you for having us. It's an honor to be here.
Oh, wow. I have to tell you, I've been very excited. And as I told Mr. Prince and Mr. Clark there before we got started, that I had been wanting to had more student involvement in this campaign. We felt like we were just kind of playing catch up initially, and what the wonderful thing is, I know this conversation is still going to go on. And it's very important that we talk to this generation that are coming. They have been so impacted by so many different events. And I really wanted to just have more students come on and give their perspective and give voice right now to how they're feeling. I first want to open up and say that the recent shooting of another Black man in Philadelphia also is very timely to mention, and I felt like I should say something, but I think this is the perfect forum to unpack some of that, because we can use it in the proper context of everything else that has been going on, and here we are with this upheaval again. And it's important for me to talk to our younger generation about this so we can really strategize how to move forward in a climate like this and how to express our voices through government. So first of all, Ian Clark, if you can maybe just introduce yourselves, both of you, as well as Emanuel Prince. We'll start with Ian first, and a little bit about yourself and what do you do as far as student government goes?
Well, thank you so much again for having me here today. My name is Ian Clark, and in student government, I am the vice president of the Associate Student Government for Mira Costa College, specifically representing San Leo campus, that you see in my lovely background here. And, I am really motivated in helping my community. And that's what ultimately, brought me into this position.
Thank you. Mr. Prince?
I just want to thank you again for having us. So my name is Emanuel Prince. I am the Vice President of Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion for the Mira Costa Associated Student Government. I'm an Emoja student scholar. I'm also a pre-law major. My responsibility to the Mira Costa community, just to the community in general, is to bring a diverse set of voices to the table, to be able to provide outlets for all voices, and to create a connection between individuals of how I put this, higher positions within Mira Costa with the student body, such as our administration, our faculty, and our staff. It's important that we have those relationships established and we have those bridges connected so that our community is in sync. I think it's very important right now in this day and age, presently, to be on common grounds, no matter if we, have contrasting views on certain things. At the end of the day, we live amongst each other, we live with each other, and we should respect and understand one another.
Well, thank you, Emanuel. And I think I will ask this question, and then Ian, you jump in. We were talking, as I introduced, that it was troubling again to hear the events that just happened recently in Philly. And we were talking off camera, Emanuel, before we came on, and you put this very well about that it didn't, this most recent event, as tragic as it is, and the events in June, as tragic as those were, you put it in a context of you said that you weren't entirely surprised and gave a little history. Would you mind sharing some of what you said earlier?
So I'm a very self-educated individual. I challenge everything that I learned within the educational system, K through 12. As you said, as I said prior to this interview beginning, the situation that happened during the summer isn't really surprising to me. It's something that we've seen throughout the Black Americans' historical experience within the United States. It began with the Tulsa, Oklahoma massacre, in which 300 Black Americans were murdered because they were wealthy Black Americans, because they were moving up the socioeconomic ladder in comparison to their white counterparts. It started with the Scottsboro boys, who were accused falsely of raping a young white woman, and many of them served unjust prison times because it was a false accusation. This is something that isn't surprising to me. It's sad, and it continues to happen, and it's most likely going to continue to happen. But the fact is that the level of activism that we're currently seeing today has changed. A lot of people are becoming more outraged. A lot of people are taking up another level. And it's going to continue to happen if we continue to seeing these injustices.
Thank you. And I also want to point out, it is said, and I have to go and research this for myself, but I was told that that was the only time that a U.S. city was bombed by an air raid, was on that town. Is that correct? Did you hear the same thing?
Yes, but it wasn't just the Tulsa massacre. It happened in Wilmington, North Carolina. It happened in St. Parish, New Orleans. It happened in Rosewood, Florida. It happened all across the nation. It happened in Chicago, and people like to point at Chicago and say, well, look at all this looting. Well, that wasn't the first incident. It happened prior to that. Prior to, our generation, Chicago had a booming and had a very prosperous Black American community. And it was destroyed because of the fact that they were becoming wealthy, they were becoming educated, and they were challenging the system.
Thank you for that. Ian, would you like to add and piggyback on the question was, how it prompted you and getting involved?
Well, for me, and as Emanuel was speaking, it really I was on the opposite side of it. I grew up in, I guess, an age where I was taught, assimilate at all costs. Like, whatever you have to do, like, just get in there under the radar and get yours and get out before they notice. And and that's the real truth. And the thing is, in doing so, we lost, I guess, or at least I lost my ability to see my worth, and that I was supposed to go and show up and show out to show these other people how to do it, not just like sneak in. And so, like, that is where I have been, that's where I'm learning to get to. And so when I say that, I was prompted by the activities that happened this summer, it definitely is not to say that I, had a blind eye to anything, but maybe that I kind of did have a purposeful blind eye, because I'm like, no, that's those people who were there. Like, I'm supposed to stay right here in this lane, and I'm going to keep on going. But then I began realizing that's what they want me to do and what they want me to think. And so I'm not going to see change until I speak up. And something that you said earlier, Ms. Davis, was really stood out to me so much, is that basically you said that you wanted to stand up and be the motivation for other people to say, hey, well, I'm doing it, so you can do it too. And what's so wild to me is that as I am learning this and voicing my and speaking up, people are listening and they're saying, "Oh my gosh, well, yes, that makes sense. We should do this." And then I think to myself, well, "Wait a second, hasn't anyone said this before?" Like, so, and so it's like it's amazing and amazingly like just incredible and scary at the same time, like how easy change is and yet how difficult it is at the same time.
Thank you for that. And Ian, staying with you, now that you've stepped into the fray a bit here and showed up, do you feel like this is something that you would like to pursue? Like Venus has already said she's going to be the president of the United States, you know, so we're going to all rally around her and when that happens. And I hope I'll be her chief of staff at that point. You know what I mean? So this is a team effort here. And do you feel like, okay, politics, I'm doing it on the campus. Do you see a career for yourself in politics?
A year ago, I would have said absolutely not. And now I'd say yes, I think 100%. Since speaking up and seeing change and seeing that things can happen if you have a voice, behind all of these ideas, that they will really happen. Like one of the initiatives that I brought up on the college campus is now we're working it into basically, we're going to be submitting it into the state Senate for possible changes to the state Senate of California, California community colleges. So like we're working on really amazing things, I guess, just at Mira Costa alone. And so that has gotten me into thinking, because like if this one situation that affected me this summer has prompted me to possibly change things for all community colleges in the state of California. And this is just one little thing that happened this summer. And I'm like, wait a second, well, there's so many other little things. What about the actual major things? If I let's dive really into it. So if I can touch on this one little thing and see such a change, what if I go a little deeper? And so that's kind of prompted me to want to do more. When I transfer to Cal State San Marcos, I'm going to join in student government. And when I, maybe after that, maybe I'll be able to run for city council and you'll be able to show me, what to do, because you will have been in the position. And I'm in District 4, so it won't even be competition. So I'm very excited to see what other change I can make. I happen to be very motivated for police reform, and in reference to Walter Wallace Jr. specifically, the latest person to be killed by police violence. It touches me again in so many different personal ways beyond being a Black man. Attacked by the police, and also from the East Coast. I happen to be from New Jersey. Philadelphia was my backyard, so it really touches me as like a place of home. But also a person that deals, as myself, a person that deals with depression, and also my brother, who deals with manic depression, the same issues that Walter Wallace Jr. dealt with. And I imagine, sorry, I get a little bit emotional about this, but I spoke to my brother earlier today, and I said to him, do your roommates know? Let's not call the police if something happens. Let's have a plan in place for your protection, and how important that is.
Thank you for sharing that, and I appreciate that, and for your awareness that sometimes you have to say that. So thank you for sharing. Emanuel, now that you have been involved in student government there, are you saying, and it sounds like well before this you were kind of not sure about what you were learning. Has this time with student government been more like, yes, I want to do it again, or no, I think I'm good? Do you see a trajectory? Do you see yourself involved in politics after this?
like Ian said, prior to this, no. After, right now, I'm in between. I'm a very grassroots individual. I like working with the people. I feel like anyone who knows the state level, our state and our local levels is what really has the power over the people, not really the federal. So I want to work within the state of California. My biggest goal is to recreate a more prosperous Black community within California. A lot of Black Americans have been leaving California in numbers to move to the southern states such as Georgia and Texas. I want to reside in Los Angeles. That's kind of the mecca of Black California, I would say. But student government, ASG, has taught me a lot. As Vice President of Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion, I've been laying witness to a lot of situations that have been plaguing our student body, such as the situations that's happened over the summer as of recently with Walter Wallace Jr., the coronavirus. A lot of our students are being impacted by this coronavirus, both educationally with our international students who've had to go back to their residing homes. One of our members of ASG, she resides in China right now because of the situation with coronavirus, which isn't allowing her to stay here in California. So we've been trying to effectively and efficiently work with the community, Mira Costa's community, to help our students, whether it be through scholarships, which is what we're establishing right now, which is through other outlets. Right now, we can't do much because of the situation with the coronavirus. ASG is not able to meet with each other, which is how we can we can make stronger plans together. So it's pretty difficult through the Zoom, but we're managing. We're actually doing really good. We've been doing a lot. We've came out because as of recently in the beginning of the school year, I believe, I forgot what it was, but there was a situation in which our undocumented students were going to possibly be deported because there was a situation with the coronavirus that they're not on campus. You have to be on campus in order to benefit from the DACA program, which is what a lot of our students on Mira Costa's campus utilize, our undocumented students. So if you weren't on campus for a certain amount of units, you would sadly be deported. And our ASG was on top of it, and we came out with a plan. We came out with a letter, and we addressed the our undocumented members of Mira Costa, letting them know that we're here with you, and this is not going to happen. The ASG has, even though this academic year is going to be a struggle because we're not going to be on campus next semester either. As of right now, we are on top of it. We've been on top of it with voter registration. As of recently, our Director of Legislative Affairs, Ashley Brandt, who's been on top of it, she helped a good number of students register on her Instagram Live. We also had a proposition workshop in which we would have members of the America's community and just community in general log into a Zoom meeting, and we would have a thorough discussion of the propositions, which was a great event. It had great numbers when it came to the people that came in to take part into the workshop. But our ASG has been on top of it, and just seeing the camaraderie around everybody just working together, making sure that everybody is organized, everybody is on top of it, everybody is where they need to be together, is just really solidified my view that politics isn't so bad, even though there is clashing amongst a lot of politicians. What I'm trying to create is camaraderie. You don't have to agree with me, but at least be decent and respectful of me.
I really appreciate that perspective, Emmanuel. One of my things is it's almost that feeling of dismissal. It's like, you know, I have a perspective, it's different. It's not right, it's not wrong, it's not good, it's not bad, it's just a perspective. And I would like it to get the same weight as everyone else's perspective. And if you're not feeling that perspective, or it doesn't resonate with you, that's fine. So I really appreciate what you said, that it's a feeling of acceptance of a point of view, not agreeing with it. And I think what people hear sometimes with they hear these words, racial equality, social equity, you know, they hear these things and they immediately, the fence goes up, the ears shut, and it's like, no, hear it. I'm not telling you to adopt it. I just want you to consider it. So that sounds a little bit of what you're also expressing, is that just don't automatically dismiss it. And I want to say it must give you warm, fuzzy feelings when ASG steps in and you see the fruits of your labor and you're able to go up against the system, I guess, with what happened. Is that right?
Yeah, that's the situation that happened. A lot of community colleges came out and addressed their undocumented students, discussing the situation that was going on with DACA. And a lot of our undocumented students were very happy to see that this ASG is very on top of it. I'm not going to say historically, but in past years, I don't think that many people knew of our ASG, even knew that we even had an ASG. I remember first coming onto the campus and I asked where was this Associate Student Government office, because each campus has its own office. And literally it's all the way into the back where all the employees, staff, faculty can go into, but the students can't. So it's just like, how are we supposed to know that that's there? My plan, as you know, this is my position, Vice President at DEI, is a new position. I'm founding this position. I'm trying to bring visibility to the ASG so that students of all intellectual backgrounds, racial backgrounds, so on and so forth, can come to us and address us in any manner that need be, and let us know what they need, because we work for them, not the other way around. Our obligation is to the students first and foremost.
And I want to thank you, because we were in a meeting, and Ian, I'm going to get to you as well. It was the Inter Club Council, and yes, ASG was represented there as well. And I want to also take the moment to acknowledge that there was an organization called GSA, and I want to acknowledge it because it's also in the space that they were feeling, talk about the languages. And I'm going to go to you right now, Ian, talk about the languages. One of the people that were saying into the meeting was, when they heard to give a survey of the climate at Mira Costa, one of the Asian organizations was like, some of the ones that were, you know, the Asian, the foreign, the people coming from other countries weren't sure. Well, they thought that was the climate of like the weather. And sometimes things gets lost in translations. And also GSA, what did that stand for? Well, I should ask you, Ian or Venus, what did that stand for again?
The Gender Sexuality Alliance, I believe.
Okay, and Ian, they were saying about this particular survey that was going on, how they felt not included. So I certainly wanted to make sure, as we were talking about the campus, that I heard them and that they're progressing. And I'm sure that your person that was representing ASG is going to go back and tell what was said. And Ian, about the warm, yummy feelings about progress, that initiative that you talked about earlier with the community colleges, is that the same thing that Emanuel is talking about, or was that something different?
No, so I'm also, in addition to working with working as the vice president of the Associated Student Government, I'm also on the Academic Senate, and a few other committees as well. And so part of the Academic Senate, they oversee really everything about the college and all like the rules and regulations that go into all of the other committees. And so within that committee, I was able to suggest through the issues that I had, like I said, last summer, I had an issue related to grading where I didn't think that I was getting a fair shake. And I also saw some injustices as far as equity goes for what people would be able to do in certain classes now that we live in a synchronous, or excuse me, an asynchronous sort of world, and we're taking asynchronous classes, and things should be equal. What if someone's computer dies on a certain day and they can't go into class? Why should they be penalized, or at least not have an option to make up those points and such? And so from me speaking up and talking about, again, just telling people what literally happened to me, and then finding out that it's happened to other people. And they're like, oh, we should probably address this now. And I'm like, oh, well, okay, let's yeah, that's really important. So that's kind of what we're working on, is trying to figure out how we can change the grading policy, and basically how to structure grade challenges. Currently, without going too deep into it, basically, in order to challenge a grade that you receive in college, you are only able to challenge a final grade that's received on a report card, the semester grade at the end of the year or end of the semester. You're not able to challenge any grade during the semester, no matter how much weight that grade may have. You're only allowed to challenge it should it affect the outcome at the end. Well, I received a 0 on an assignment. It was not justified. The professor said that it was. I didn't feel that it was, and I had no recourse. And then I ended up getting an A in the class anyway. So because of that, I didn't initially say, well, I'm not going to fight to get from a 94 to a 97. I'm not going to waste the time. I've got other stuff to do. But then I started thinking, well, yeah, I happen to be fortunate, and I'm an A student. And yes, maybe I'm bragging a little, but I am, but I was. And I was like, I'm fortunate. But what about that C student that works their butt off to still get a C? And if that student is graded in this class on a 4-point schedule, or 4-point grade average, or not grade average, but a 4-point scale, like was available, you either get 100 points, 75, 50, or a 0. So obviously those are not good grades on the low end. You don't want a 0 or 50. And then a C is technically average, but most people generally want an A or a B. There was no option other than getting 100%. And so that's kind of what prompted this ire in me to speak up and to really get involved. And so again, I see myself definitely going into this in the future and doing more and more.
Well, that's fantastic. We're approaching a half hour already. So before we close out with both Emanuel and Ian, the vision, if there's a question that you haven't been asked, or if there's something, a dream, a vision for not just Mira Costa or colleges, a vision for Oceanside, the nation, what would you like to see from a political standpoint, or anything,
my what I want to see is, I guess, people not relying on the fact that this is the way we've done it before. That ultimately just enrages me, and it's hard for me to hold back when I hear those words coming from people. or the I didn't know that COVID was going to be this bad. So, well, it's probably, and well, it is what we are here. So let's deal with it. And so what my, I guess, what the question, I guess, that we are not asked as society is like, what are the actual changes that we want, and what are we willing to do to make them happen? Because I think we know what we want, but the fact of the matter is we are not strong enough, and we don't have the will to do what we need to do to get it done. That is what life is understanding, yes, I want this, but am I willing to work for it? And that is the real, I think, the question that we all need to ask ourselves is, what are we willing to do to get that goal, to get that greater good for all of us? Or is it all just talk? Do we want to just talk about it being good, or are we going to be about it being good? And I'm very happy to see that a lot more people are about being about it, and we see them coming out. And it's my hope that it continues and gets stronger.
Thank you for that. And Emanuel, the question was, is there a question that you haven't been asked that you would like to answer, or is there a vision, whether politically, for either your community, for your school, for society? What would you like to say, the vision?
The one question, well, the vision is, what will be the result? Every action has a equal or opposite reaction. Is the actions that you're taking going to end up in resulting in what you wanted to see occur? Is it going to be favorable, or is it not going to be favorable? And in order to make sure that you have a favorable result, is you have to be a part of it. You can't, as Ian was talking about, you can't speak about it. You have to be about it. And that's what I'm doing. One of my key goals right now is, because of the climate of the clash between communities of color, such as the Black community and law enforcement. I'm a part of PAID, which is the President's Alliance for Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion. And a part of that committee is the Student Conduct and Police Advisory Committee. So we look at student conduct, and we also look at law enforcement conduct too. I'm huge about community policing. I believe that the members within law enforcement should be a part of the community, or have came from the community. If you don't understand the community, you won't really connect with the community. It's just not going to happen. That's why I'm a part of these law enforcement initiatives, to bring these two groups together. Because right now people see them as opposite groups, but at the end of the day, once you take off the uniform, you're part of the civilian population. You're just like us. So and that goes the same way. When you put on the uniform, you're going to be part of law enforcement. When you take it off, you're going to be part of the civilian back again. So it's really trying to bring these communities together. So if my result is to bring about community policing, I have to be a part of these initiatives in order to bring about that result. You can't speak about it. Talking is not my thing. I don't like to talk. Actually, I do like to talk, but not that much. Like when it comes to situations as this, I don't like to talk. I want to take action. We can talk for a moment, but we got to move on. We got to get our feet clicking. Let's go. So that's really what I'm about. And that's what I think that everyone should be about, because it's going to come to a point where, actions, as people know, actions speak louder than words. Words can only do so much. So that's what I'm trying to get everybody to do, is to take action, not talk so much.
Well, thank you, Emanuel Prince and Ian Clark. If you have anything else to add, please feel free. But I just want to thank you both so much. This was a wonderful conversation, and we could go on, but you know, time's up. And I know these are terribly, terribly busy people. For you all to be doing your coursework and then being so intrinsically involved in politics on campus, I think it's just amazing. And I want to thank you two for your service, and I want to thank you two for coming on. So thank you so much, both of you.
Thank you so much.
So then, you're welcome. You're welcome. So that's it for us for this edition of our Facebook Live, our student engagement series. We had Ian Clark and we had Emanuel Prince on, both part of their student government at their colleges that did not get an endorsement. They were just great. They were perfect for this segment. And we will be joining, please join us tomorrow when we come back for another episode here on our student engagement series. And thank you. And if you two could just hang on for a second while we just say, bye, Facebook Live.